Hey guys, I'm here with Eric Sanchez of Maestro Strategic Partners.
That's it.
Yeah, I get that right?
You did.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, absolutely.
So,
Happy to be here. Thanks.
Eric is one of the presenters here at AI for PI Expo, so I'm really happy to have him on. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, you got it, man.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your company?
Sure. So Maestro Strategic Partners, we work with law firms of all different sizes, particularly plaintiffs firms, so PI firms. 23 years spent building a firm from the ground up. Started it essentially from the bottom. Today, that firm is 300 people, 60 lawyers, doing over 65 million in revenue. Founded and exited from an intake and case management software company. Have 30 technical patents. Was involved with a $1.25 billion class action. Invited to the White House for my work on that. Today, our company is 4 people. Everybody's been in the business at least 20 years or more. We're very small. We're very concierge and niche in the firms that we work with. So it's a unique kind of a tailored approach to advising and consulting.
Awesome. And I'm curious, what does a normal engagement look like? Like what is the outcome that you're trying to get?
Sure. So most commonly what happens is the firm will have us drop in. We'll either do a firm-wide analysis or department analysis, and we'll really pick it apart from top to bottom. So we like to interview folks at the ground level, and you'd be surprised the themes that we can get out of just having that conversation, just like we're having. It's very open-ended and very easy for the folks, and then we get kind of really where the grit is, where we really need to reduce that friction for the firms. We give them that, and then they determine whether or not they want to have a longer term engagement with us to help work through some of the issues we've identified.
Oh, fantastic. And what was your talk on?
Yeah, so I spoke on how to implement AI. So one of the things that as I said earlier, I founded an exit from an intake and case management software company. And so we really learned how painful it is for law firms in particular to adopt new technologies. We also, my partner Stacie and I also co-authored a book, Invested Leadership. And so what we understood was it was really about identifying the personas within your firm, find that champion, find that blocker, work with them, not against them, and figure out how to leverage those personalities or personas in a way that addresses their fears, addresses their expectations, and then implement the software the right way.
Awesome. So from a high level down to a personal level and implementing AI, am I getting that right in terms of what you do for firms?
Yeah, so it runs the gamut. I mean, we do everything from a firm that wants to exit. They'll have us drop in there and tighten up their operations, codify them, get them in writing, get them in ship shop shape, to exit. We'll work with firms in just getting their operations right, intake, marketing. We take a third eye look at that. But what's really hot right now, as you know, is AI, and so they know they want to use AI, but they really don't understand how to do it. And what we're finding is very common is they don't even have their core operations nailed down to figure out how to translate that into AI. And so that's an increasing avenue of work for us.
So what are some of the most effective ways that a law firm can start implementing and adopting AI in a comfortable but safe way?
Sure. Well, the first thing that you do is you get your operations nailed down. You figure out what it is you're trying to identify. Identify those pain points. Once you've identified those pain points, we suggest you kind of A/B test that internally. So you get your champion, someone who you know is going to give it kind of an honest effort, and then you see how it works. Pick something small, something not client facing. Obviously, you need to make sure that the AI tool that you're using is safe, that you trust it. You've got representations from the company that they're not taking your data outside. The usual things that you would expect.
Gotcha. And are you also using AI at that process to identify these areas, or is just a conversation and then we start implementing?
Yeah, no,
AI?
it's good old fashioned talking to people, just like we're talking right now. Yeah, we have found that until AI has context, it really lacks direction, and we get the context from the humans. And when we have that human connection with people and they trust you, and you're building that rapport with them, you really get kind of the detail out. Like for example, we find that accounting departments in law firms are notoriously closed-vested about how they do their process. And so we can get in there, get them comfortable, tease out those processes, get them nailed down, and then we could look to see where AI might be helpful in some of those areas.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, financial data, of course, is like they don't want any
Sure,
yeah.
And they're more traditional, and and they're afraid people are going to take, people are afraid AI is going to take their jobs.
Yeah.
And so we have to say, well, we really see it as an additive tool that's going to make you better, not necessarily replace you. Now, if you're talking about like a lower level employee or something that has kind of a commoditized skill set, we think that's where that's going to be the most disruptive in law firms. But like a good paralegal is going to become a great paralegal leveraging AI.
It's like a super powered paralegal.
That's what we believe.
Like
Iron Man.
Ability.
That's how I look at it. Put on that suit.
Yeah.
You're going to be like Iron Man.
I love it. And what has the adoption been like for you with clients lately? Are you seeing that they're more open to it, that they're really trying to get it now that it's,
yeah,
how has that come along?
It really runs the gamut. You have some people who are like never met a AI they didn't love. And then you have other people who know that they need it, but they don't know where to start, and they're afraid of it.
Yeah.
And they're afraid of it, not like they're afraid they're going to take my job, but they're afraid of doing the wrong thing, maybe violating the attorney-client privilege or something like that. And so it's really just educating them and getting them in an area that's really comfortable. Identifying that champion is really key.
Gotcha. And on the specific implementation side, you said earlier that you're identifying pain points. So you're really going after these like obstacles and constraints with both you implement?
Yes, both personally and then operationally.
Oh, interesting.
They're two different issues.
Oh.
Like you can have a workflow that sucks and it just doesn't make sense anyways. You bring an AI on it, you have an AI workflow that sucks. Yeah, so you have to make sure that it makes sense, that it's logical. And then you have to identify whether or not there's a human blocker in that.
Oh, I see.
So a lot of law firms notoriously will have key man issues. Well, they'll have one process that flows through one person, and then that person, it becomes their identity and who they are. And they're fearful of having some other technology come in that may take that away from them. And so we have to address that at a human level and an operational level. And if you don't address them together, particularly in any kind of professional services, but particularly in these smaller plaintiffs firms, it's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, that seems like at the heart of getting these technologies adopted, right?
100%.
I mean, getting through to people that it's not, well, how do you I would imagine very difficult to overcome like an identity issue. They're identifying with their role, right? So how are some ways that you do that? It's just like an old-fashioned conversation.
Yeah, so it helps having that background of being an operator. Like let's look at intake, for example. It's every plaintiff's firm has an intake issue or problem or something like that. I was the guy that was doing intakes. Initially, I did it on Microsoft Word forms, and then it's evolved exponentially from that. Because back in the day, that's what you had. And so being able to talk shop with these folks and they understand where they're coming from, and then explain to them, kind of give them a vision of where their role can be with AI and how they can become more valuable to the law firm versus looking at AI as taking it. So essentially saying, hey, we've got this ability to make you a superhuman, and the law firm has every interest in keeping you as a superhuman because you're more valuable to them in that way. And either they get it or they don't. I mean, sometimes people who don't get it, they probably need to exit because the industry is moving too fast, and these firms, every law firm is going to become a technology company, whether they like it or not. That's a fact. Some firms may want to build their own. Other firms will buy something, but in any event, you're either part of the mob or you're a victim. It's coming.
Right. Wow. So from what I'm hearing, Eric, in your firm, it's really like a strategic approach tied with a very, in the nitty gritty, day-to-day implementing of these softwares. Is that right?
That's right.
So holistic.
And having been in the business, both in legal technology and then also as a firm operator, I really understand like a number of ways that we're also used is people will hire us to sit in on vendor meetings and say we're gonna choose between Even Up, Supio, or Eve. Sit on these meetings. You understand our operations. Which one do you think it's because it's what may work for one firm may not necessarily work for another firm for a variety of different reasons. If you're heavy on a litigation, you might really value discovery in a completely different way than you might medical chronologies, though of course they have application in litigation. But on the pre-lit side, you have to do that at scale, and then pricing comes into play. So there's all kinds of nuances within law firms that you really need to understand, and not every law firm is the same. And a lot of law firms, you'd think that they would pick that up, but they really don't. They think if it works for Jones, Johnson, and Jackson, it's going to work for me. Not necessarily true.
Right. So, and this is maybe a strange question, especially considering we have all these legal tech providers here, but how much do you see that firms are building their own tools or automations? Yeah,
so it's funny. So having managed a product roadmap, having done it, having the patents, right, it sounds a lot sexier than it actually is.
To build.
And so we have conversations with folks all the time that want to do that. I'm like, yeah, bro, you can like vibe code or whatever. You can build an agent. But when you start talking about having an enterprise level tech stack that you're going to develop and you think you're going to commercialize, this is a question that I ask everybody. What's your DevOps plan? They don't know what DevOps is.
Yeah, they're like, right?
That's your first indication that maybe you should step away from the vehicle, rethink it, maybe throw DevOps in an AI chat, go to school on that and understand really what it is that you're thinking you're going to do.
Right.
Because yes, economically on the fascia, it may be cheaper than going to a third-party enterprise model. But when you start getting into maintenance and you start thinking about how to commercialize that, and you start thinking about coming to trade shows and the cost and all that stuff, woo, adds up real quick, and all of a sudden that enterprise value looks a lot better.
Yeah, so you want the best tool for the job.
Best tool,
not
yeah.
the cheapest.
And you need a large firm to do that. Like, yesterday I was on a panel, an AI panel with Steve. I can't think of his last name, but he was at Sweet James, right? And those guys are using third party, but they're also have their own internal LLMs at there, right? They understand the nuance. There is an appropriate time when you're building something for yourself. That's totally different than an enterprise level commercial application.
So it's a little bit of both for some firms.
Sure. Large firms for sure. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So Eric, any insights or takeaways from either your talk that you want the audience to have?
I guess what I'd say is it was eye-opening how advanced some law firms are, like Sweet James, for example. And I think a lot of people were kind of shook at they've been doing it for 2 years, and some firms are talking about just getting in. If you're not in, you need to get in, because these firms are coming and they're going to eat your lunch.
Fantastic. Eric, this has been, I love having you on. It was a great talk. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, absolutely. Thank you.
How can people get in touch with you?
Yeah, so you can reach us at evolvelaw.ai. You can reach me personally at eric@evolvelaw.ai.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Right, you got it, man. Thanks.
Appreciate you.